Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. The first story of an incompetent manager encountered by employees at a well-known pharmacy. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. I'm not on call. So this just happened. I'm a farm tech at a well-known pharmacy. I have a very full life, but make it work with a hectic schedule. My availability is from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday. I calculated it out and came to around 53 hours of availability during business hours. This is because my mother has COPD and I help with her things that she can't do for herself, grocery shopping, laundry, and whatever she needs. Everything was fine until we get a new pharmacy manager. He has no idea how to do anything. The team is shocked at what he does, misses ordering medications we need to fill orders on multiple days in a row, jumping ship on the minute when his shift is over, even when we're swamped, and when it bleeds all the way into the weekend and Monday because we're trying to catch up, gets mad. Just not an effective leader. Now on to what happened. My friend who was the closer, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., took a way better offer with another company and left. No 2-week notice, nothing. It's fine because she was getting crapped on with closing duties and all. I'm asked by the farm manager to work her shifts. Now, I've always been a slave to my job in past circumstances, but I'm trying to have a work-life balance and not burn myself out. I notice after declining that instead of my 32 to 40-hour average, I'm only getting 8. Okay, straight-up retaliation, but you know how retail is, and as long as they can cover their butts with a reason, I have no action. They say, well, there are no hours, which is slightly true. Okay, I'll write it out. 2 weeks pass, and the hours go back up, 8 hours still. I ask the manager why. I only have hours for people who can close, which is complete bull because everyone else is a student and doesn't close, so I'm being punished? That's okay, because I'm Scandinavian and can hold a grudge for a long time. Now for the next puzzle piece. I run a cake business on the side. It's a hobby that I love, but I don't push it to make me insane money because it's not what I want my career to be, but I can stack up orders if I want. A key team member who's not great calls in last night. It's okay, we're a good team, we can hold it together until our time is up. As more and more people go home, the pharmacy falls more and more behind. The pharmacy manager has nowhere to go, he's the only one on duty and now has to fill and approve because the closing tech has to handle the counter and phone. This is where mistakes are made because a pharmacist should not be doing both. End of my shift comes and I say, see ya, and leave. If he'd been any other pharmacist, I would have stayed and helped until they were less busy, but nope, you lost my loyalty. They were 3 hours till close with just 2 of them. That brings us to 7:30 this morning. I get a text from pharmacy manager asking if I can come in for my regular shift I wasn't scheduled for because the same coworker called in again second day in a row. Hell no, I'm not on call. You don't schedule me as punishment or force me into a closing shift availability? F off. Nope, you caught me on a day I have cake orders due. I'm not on the schedule, so I filled up my week with orders. Bit you on the butt, didn't it? Because everyone else is in school. Suffer. P.S. I also hear he's in trouble with the district because there have been a ton of complaints on pickup time and by the team on how he works. Have fun. And our next story. Treat me like a doormat? Now you won't need one. As a little bit of context, my father is a downright disgusting person and always has been. He's emotionally abusive and has, on a handful of occasions, crossed the line into physical abuse. The way he treats people has left him with very little family that'll even give him the time of day and no friends to speak of. I can't understand the thought process that goes on in his mind, but somehow he's even managed to perform the mental gymnastics needed to convince himself that everyone else around him is unreasonable and that his terrible circumstances in life are the fault of everyone but himself. Quite the feat for the man who's easily 200 pounds overweight. He's also self-employed and would only ever work exactly enough hours to barely scrape by with just enough money left over to afford alcohol, which he refuses to cut down on despite having a clear drinking problem. Essentially, he lives month to month despite not having to and has a pretty clear track record of being reckless with his money. This is important later, I promise. My revenge comes in 2 different flavors, passive-aggressive and F you. A little over 2 years ago, I worked for a company that went into administration and shut down unexpectedly. During that time, I was still living with my father and paying the brunt of our household bills. I actually wasn't too badly affected by the company shutting down, as in an effort to start earning extra money to put down a deposit on a place of my own, far away from this sad excuse for a human being, I'd been putting my art school training to good use and was taking on commission work in the evenings after coming home from my 9 to 5. I'd cultivated a pretty sizable following by the time I lost my day job and had a pool of regular clients who paid reasonably well. The extra 40 hours a week to work on these projects actually meant I was just about breaking even with the money I used to make at my old job, if not actually coming out somewhat ahead. But my father didn't know that. He made it very clear what he thought about my attending art school while I was there, so I refused to even utter a breath about it from that point onwards. Begin stage 1. My father finds out that my company liquidated, and before I can tell him not to worry and that I can still cover my end of the bills, he tells me to sign up for benefits so I can continue paying some sort of reduced rent to him, and in that moment, a rather evil idea takes root in my mind. I pretend to agree with him and nod along, continuing to keep my side job a secret for almost a year while keeping up this charade of being on benefits. I watch him struggle more and more to keep up with rent payments as time goes on, due exclusively to his refusal to simply work more than 20 hours a week. He's keeping himself above water at this point, but only barely, and he knows that he can't reasonably expect more money from me as I'm, after all, unemployed and struggling to find work. At first, this is satisfying, and my deposit money grows faster now that I'm not paying him close to as much as I was before for the privilege of being his personal doormat. I'm effing over him, but he doesn't actually know it. Not yet, anyway. Begin phase 2. Almost a year to the day into my unemployment, I suddenly land a new and better paying job than my old one, which is actually just me going out into a coffee shop for 8 hours each day with my Cintiq companion to work there instead of at home. Somehow, me having a $2,000 tablet that I didn't have a few months ago didn't tip him off that I was lying to his face. He never was very bright. I've now got my full deposit saved with spare change for some basic furniture, and I start hunting for an apartment. I find one, sort out all the paperwork, put down a deposit, and begin prepping the place for a quick getaway. In the 3 months that follow, I start paying the lion's share of the rent again, and in fact cover all of our expenses except for his food and alcohol. I reasoned to him that since he supported me for so long, it's only fair for me to make it up by paying more now. He beams happily when I say that, and his abuse of me actually stops for a couple of days. I'm out of pocket quite a bit for this plan to work, but I keep telling myself it'll all be worth it. My revenge was almost abandoned on several occasions. The whole time I was staying there after getting my apartment set up, he was still being disrespectful, treating me less like a person and more like something unpleasant he stepped in. I almost just left multiple times, knowing that I had somewhere better to go at that point. I stuck it out, though, just long enough for him to become dependent on the money I was giving him. He's going to work less and less often at this point, getting comfortable with the routine of me just having the money there, ready and waiting for him when he asks me for it, and on the 3rd month, I finally strike while the iron is hot. He asked me for the money the day before our rent and other bills are due out of his account, with the intention of going out to deposit everything for payment that morning. And with a feeling of utter satisfaction I haven't experienced before or since, I simply plaster a big smile on my face and say, "Sorry, no can do. I don't live here anymore." I wish I had a longer exchange to give you guys here, but I really don't. My plan from the beginning had always been to simply walk out at the last second, leaving him high and dry, and that's exactly what I did. He did manage to yell at me to tell me to stop being an a-hole and give him his money because he needed it right now, to which I responded, "Well, that's a bummer," as I walked out the front door and out of his life. He didn't follow me, make a scene, or anything like that, as much as I wish he had, and I just headed to the train station, went to my new apartment, and settled in for my first night of genuine freedom in years. I don't know what happened to him after that, and honestly, I don't really care. It's been about 9 months, and I know he lost the house, but other than that, I can't say what happened. And our last story. Besting a travel insurer. In 2013, my dad passed away while my brother and I were on our own independent international adventures. I was in Spain and my brother was in Canada, and we needed to get back to Australia. My travel insurance was dodgy, but eventually paid out after a few complaints, which is pretty standard practice. My brother tried to claim $9K. He could only get one emergency seat on a bunch of connecting flights, and with that and his flight back after the funeral, etc., and other cancellations, it all added up. Shock, horror, his claim was rejected. Back then, there wasn't an industry body that dealt with traveler insurance companies, or if there was, we had no idea what it was. So my bro went through the usual hurdles involved with the appeals and complaints process. Eventually, they told him that his claim for $9,326 was rejected, and their determination was final. So back then, companies didn't really have Twitter handles, especially not insurance companies. So my brother created a Twitter handle in this insurance company's name, complete with their official logo. He quickly set about gaining thousands of followers and legitimately began answering their questions with truthful, albeit quite negative responses. Things like, question, my daughter and I want to travel to Paris. What insurance coverage would you recommend? Answer, we would recommend you take the premium for our comprehensive coverage and burn it. We don't like to pay out for any insurable event because it upsets our shareholders. Have fun in Paris, etc., etc. The insurance company got wind of this and sent him a cease and desist letter. My brother counteroffered with a contract for the company to purchase the Twitter account and 2,500 potential customers for the very reasonable price of $9,326. They agreed. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.